All right, now, despite labeling Saudi Arabia a pariah state, Biden next month is going to make a visit to the kingdom and meet with the crown prince amid surging prices at the gas pump. Now, my bet is that Joey, your president, will be begging the Saudi prince for oil and to increase production and not mention the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, which Biden tried to somehow blame Donald Trump for at one point. Now, meanwhile, controversy continues to swirl around professional golf as high-profile players like Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson are leaving the PGA Tour to play for the new LIV Tour, which is backed by the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Saudi Arabia. LIV Tour is reportedly offering these players over $100 million in guaranteed money, along with huge tournament prizes for the winner, bringing an era of free agency and player mobility to that sport. You may remember back in 2019, Biden said this about the Saudi kingdom. Take a look.
The CIA has concluded that the leader of Saudi Arabia directed the murder of U.S.-based journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The State Department also says the Saudi government is responsible for executing nonviolent offenders and for torture. President Trump has not punished senior Saudi leaders. Would you?
Yes, and I said it at the time. Khashoggi was, in fact, murdered and dismembered, and I believe in the order of the Crown Prince. And I would make it very clear, we were not going to, in fact, sell more weapons to them. We were going to, in fact, make them pay the price and make them, in fact, the pariah that they are.
Here with reaction, former Secretary of State, Fox News contributor Mike Pompeo is with us. All right, so he was murdered, and he believes ordered to be murdered, Khashoggi that is, by the Crown Prince. Now, I believe that's probably true, too. I wouldn't do business with Saudi Arabia. You're a former CIA director. The CIA concluded he made that order. Is Joe going to bring this up as he's on his hands and knees begging Saudi Arabia to produce more oil because he won't do it domestically?
Sean, I don't know if he's going to bring it up. I have to say the remarks he made were foolish and I think absolutely naive. They have been an important security partner for the United States of America. They have delivered good outcomes for us. The murder of Jamal Khashoggi was something that the Trump administration dealt with. We sanctioned a dozen plus officials from the kingdom. They have been someone who supported our efforts to build out the Abraham Accords, the historic peace arrangements between the United States and Israel. The president's going to go there. I hope he will use this as an opportunity to continue to build out peace, continue to build out stability, reducing the risk that we ever have to send Americans to fight in that place as we've done. Sean, you know the history so many times, too many times. We ought to get this right. We ought to get this relationship right. It's important that we work on human rights every place in the world, but this is an important security partner for the United States as well.
Context is important here. If you would have told me before the Trump administration that an alliance would emerge between the U.S., Israel, the Saudis, the Jordanians, Egyptians, and the Emirates, I wouldn't have believed it. I wouldn't have thought it possible. But it did happen in large part to stop Iranian hegemony in the region and stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. That did happen. But do you believe that the Crown Prince ordered the killing of Khashoggi?
Well, I'll leave that to the intelligence professionals. I've actually read what's there. You should know, read it carefully. There are still lots of questions about what transpired there, other than the fact that we know there was a murder, and we were highly confident during my time in service that the dozen people, I think it was 13 maybe, Sean, that we sanctioned were connected to that in a serious way. And we did what America always does. We hold those responsible for this kind of heinous activity accountable. But it's also important to put in context the Middle East, Sean, and America's interest in there. And we were America first. This is what we worked on. The Iranians were holding Americans hostage. They killed 500 plus Americans by a man named Qasem Soleimani. We held him accountable too. We were serious about making sure that every nation respected us. Frankly, I think President Biden has come closer to making an America a pariah state with Middle Eastern partners and friends than we have of making Saudi Arabia one. We have to get these relationships right. They matter. They matter for American trade. They matter for American security. Sean, don't forget, the Chinese Communist Party is active in the Middle East. We can't allow this to be a place that walks away from the United States because we reject them out of hand.
I agree with you, but it would matter less if we were energy independent like we were under President Trump. And that raises the question, why is Joe Biden really going there? And I think we know the reason. He's going to beg for more oil. He's been begging OPEC. They finally agreed, but They agreed because it's, what, over $120 for a barrel of oil. They're making a ton of money. They're making a fortune. Maybe you could explain it to me. What difference does it make if you import oil and you're making Russia rich again, or the Iran? Believe it or not, last year, Joe took in 1 million barrels of oil from Iran, sending emissaries to Venezuela to talk to that murdering dictator thug, begging OPEC and now begging Saudi Arabia. Doesn't it have the same impact, if you will, on Mother Earth if you drill for oil there or if we do it domestically?
Hey, Sean, you nailed it. As America's Secretary of State, America's energy dominance was really important to me. It enhanced our security. We didn't have to beg Maduro. We didn't have to beg the Ayatollah. We didn't have to rely on Vladimir Putin. We could distribute to our friends and partners around the world, so they had to rely on them less as well. It is crazy. I'd frankly rather see the president, rather than go to Riyadh, I'd rather have him go to Midland and get the energy from there. But it is going to take a global supply increase to actually help the American family in the ways that they are feeling so much pain today.
Do you think they'll change course?
Turn on their lights and their electricity at home as well.
Will Joe change course?
No, I don't. I see no evidence the Biden administration can change course. Their capacity to realize what America wants has proven pretty darn limited, Sean.
All right, Mr. Secretary, always love having you. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you.